Hello everyone, the Skilled Roy here, back with another Legends of Runeterra video, and today I am going to be looking over the newest Legends of Runeterra card, Irelia, and her whole trailer that came out. Unfortunately, I haven't had the time to sort of look at the other champions just yet, just because I've been super busy with work, but since today was Irelia, I wanted to make the time to at least come out and see at least, please, can someone save Ionia? God, please. Alright, let's take a look at the trailer.
I dance not to forget, but to remember.
Love her art.
Blade,
3 mana, 3/2 quick attack, so Zed. You summon a flawless duet on round start if you have the attack token, or on rounds, or when you play her. Okay, you get a free attack with that many summon blades.
Step, strike,
cool.
left foot strike, right
Summon
foot
2
strike,
blades.
turn.
Oh, so they go right into the combat step. Interesting.
Mind your form.
Interesting that they actually died there. I thought they would still be a bit of later since they're removed from combat. I guess not. Okay.
By my hand.
Oh god, I love how you're using the Irelia theme. Let's go.
And by our blades will it fall.
Blade Dance 3, pick an ally, attack with the blades. Ooh, interesting.
Navori,
It's like a weird cataclysm. Damn.
We dance to the drums of war, and all our hearts beat as
Man, that
one.
feels like even better. Like, holy shit, that's incredible. Hang on. I need to go back to that one. The animations on the faces were even way better than they were before. Hang on.
And all our hearts beat as one.
This one feels in particular way cleaner. It's like based on her load-in screen too, actually. Oh my god. So when I attack with it, wait. Let's read that card. When I'm summoned around start, if you have the attack token, create the flood. Same thing as level 1, but when allies attack, create a Blade Surge in hand, and that's the ability to swap. So essentially, you can get her into combat. And Blade Surge is the one that got leaked recently. That was the swap Irelia with an ally.
Ionia still stands.
How long can they resist while their cities crumble?
Yeah, swap out Irelia with an ally. So.
Well, our spirits, our home, our ancestors are safe once more.
Oh, that's so sick. Man, like you won't be able to stop her or do removal. Like if you do an open attack with Irelia, you won't be able to hard removal her at all. God damn. She looks sick. I am really, really excited for this. That is some really cool stuff. All right, everyone, hello, and now we are finally into my review of each of the Irelia cards, and we're going to start things off with Ribbon Dancer. It is a 2-mana 2/1, play Blade Dance 1. If you don't know what Blade Dance is when you play this card, you summon one of the 1/1 blades, automatically attacking in a free attack, so it doesn't cost your attack token to make this happen. And this means it'll also work on defense as well, so even if you don't have the attack token, you can still get attacks off. So I think very obviously, like a 2/1 is honestly not even a 1 mana worth body, and so you're really paying a lot for the effect here. That being said, with such a low cost on the ability to get an attack trigger is actually quite good, because for things like Misfortune, for example, or Irelia, which we're going to see a little bit later. So the question really becomes, is this card going to be good? And I don't think it's going to be good on its own specifically, but I think once you start using it in some of these recall strategies, and some of these strategies that sort of work around playing this multiple times, and then you have some cards such as the Emperor's Diest, which will summon more Sand Soldiers for you, or Azir, or Irelia, I think that's where this card is really going to see a lot of its value. Overall, I would be very surprised if it didn't see play. I think it's going to see plenty of play, but it's going to be more of like a role player or a small good card in the deck rather than something that's going to completely destroy every single deck it comes up against. All right, next up we have another Blade Dancer, 4 mana, 3/3, play Blade Dance 2. So this is actually quite interesting. This is like, at least to me, one that makes the most sense in terms of its numbers. Ribbon Dancer, of course, is below a 1 mana effect for the Blade Dance effect it's paying for, so it kind of feels bad, whereas like a 4 mana 3/3 is like, those are often played with heavy utility. Look at cards like Babbling Beard and stuff like that, for cards that people play on turn 4 that are mostly being played for their utility more so than their actual power. Is Blade Dance 2 worth it? I think in certain decks it very well could be. I'm just really sort of concerned as to the speed of it. So for example, with Ribbon Dancer, you can very easily see yourself recalling it and replaying it multiple times in a turn even. Whereas Blooming Blade, you're getting to like Katarina levels of like how many times you replay this card in one turn if you want to start doing combos with it, right? And I get it that it gets 2 blades, but I think that the value of Blade Dance isn't in the number of blades, but rather in the fact that you get a free attack. And that, to me, in getting that free attack trigger is much more valuable than, say, getting an additional blade with a Blade Dance, right? So overall, I am cautiously optimistic about this card, but it's like, I don't really feel it's as good as the others. We're going to see, of course. I can definitely see it seeing play, but it's not the one I'm most excited about. And this one is the #1 card I was telling people is going to happen. There's no way it doesn't happen, and that is Syncopation, the 2-mana burst speed spell swap to allies. Now, this has been a huge point of debate in the custom card community, and I have always personally stated that I think swapping 2 allies is a 3-mana effect, maybe like 3 mana and a small upside. And this is 2-mana swap 2 allies, and this is pushing it even for me, because a lot of people thought that swap is just inherently toxic, and I'm like, okay, well, Stand United's already in the game, and it's 6 mana, so like, if we take away the barriers from it, like, how much does it really cost? And I think that 2 mana is a little too good. So to let me explain. First things first is that it's basically a better ghost if you have more attackers than they do, because you'll always be able to dodge out of the way and then get basically super elusive, because you can decide who's blocking after the fact, right? That's already a very huge, powerful ability of it. Not to mention, you can also use it as a pseudo counterspell by rearranging the target who they're hitting. So for example, they try to cast Culling Strike on your Irelia, for example, you can then swap her out of the way to a 4 attack unit, and then it will whiff and miss entirely, right? Because the spell chooses its target and does not swap when you swap allies. So that means it can be used sort of as a counterspell, or it can be used to avoid key pieces of removal and sacrifice a smaller unit instead, say for example the blades. So I think to me, Syncopation is very, very good just as a generally powerful combat trick. Now, I will say this though, a lot of people are saying this card is absolutely broken, but the thing is that like every region almost has absurdly powerful combat tricks, except for really Ionia, if we're being quite honest. So when you look at like say Sharp Sight and Troll Chant, for example, those are the sort of the power level I'm thinking here. I think it's going to be an incredibly powerful staple that you're going to see in a lot of Ionia decks, regardless of them running blades or not. This card is just very, very powerful, and I fully expect this card to be region defining for quite a while. Oh man, you want to talk about dark horses? Here we go. Zanaya Steel Crescendo, 8 mana, 3/5 elusive. When you blade dance, I attack with the blades, and when you play her, she also blade dances 1. So that is already very powerful, right? Let's just be clear here. That means essentially when you attack with her on the turn you play her, you're immediately getting 3 damage. And if it's on your attacking turn, you're gonna be able to attack again for 6 damage. And that's all elusive. So if you really think about this, it's kind of like a weird Empyrean, if you remember that card. I am not certain how good this is. I've been on record saying that I think Zanaya will be very good if there's any like really easy spell that you can use to cast Blade Dance, because that means on your attacking turn you could say play Zanaya, attack for 3 again right after that, and then play a spell that brings in more blades, and then boom, you're attacking for 9 elusive damage on turn 8. The issue is, though, is that there isn't that spell. So Irelia does have something we'll get to later, but I honestly think that like that's asking a bit much to have Irelia on the board for that long, as well as not having already won the game on turn 8, and then also having to do this. This one is, I before these cards came out, I was like, I think this card is pretty decent, but as soon as I realized that the last batch of Irelia cards didn't have an easy spell to use Blade Dance with, I was like, I'm not sure about this anymore. So we'll see. I think it's worth experimenting with though, and I think this is competitively costed. Like for example, I actually can't imagine this being 7 mana. A lot of people have said, "Oh, we'll just make it 7 mana," but I don't know about that. That effect can start getting really scary very quickly. So I think we'll try it out, but I do think it's probably just a little too slow. Next up, we have Coastal Defender. When you summon an ally, give me +2/+0 this round, and is a 4 mana 2/6. I think this is actually slightly slept on. Summoning an ally and becoming a 4 mana 4/6 is pretty easy to do, and honestly, if we're being like really realistic here, you have so many different ways to summon allies now through the ridiculous new recall effects, through the new blade system. If the opponent ever lets you through, you're going to be able to kill them with Coastal Defender. And you're like, well, I don't want to waste like Ghost or running some sort of really bad elusive giving card just to make this card good. But you can already be running Syncopation, and Syncopation will allow you to swap him out and then have him attack directly. And since he already has an absurdly high HP total, it's 6, and since his attack is usually going to be higher than 2, you're going to be dodging a lot of like removal that is conditional, right? The only things you're really having to worry about here are things like Hush and things like Frostbites or Stuns. Those are going to be more your bigger issue here, but in all seriousness, it really isn't like a hard thing to make happen. I think this card is like, it looks vanilla as hell. I'm sure it does. But I think with Blade Dancing and with the ability to constantly be able to get more bonus attacks in now with an Ionia, I am very cautiously optimistic about this card. I think with an Emperor's Dais and a single Blade Dance, making this thing go up to a 6/6 is just Wow, I feel like this card can really just pump out damage really easily, and I think it's gonna be very hard for the opponent to really stop efficiently. So I'm actually quite a big fan of Coastal Defender. I think this is the #1 card I see people sleeping on because no one's excited about it, but like I think this card's really good. All right, next up we have Lead and Follow, the 2-mana recall an ally to create a Flawless Duet in hand. And Flawless Duet, of course, was the 2-mana card Blade Dance 2. Sorry, 1-mana card Blade Dance 2, and not bad. This is very similar actually to Retreat and Return, which is essentially a 2-mana for a recall and then 1 mana for a very powerful effect type of card. And my question really is this so much better than Return? I feel like, especially in a deck that is running Irelia and stuff like that, Return might be better because you can use something like Dancing Droplet on turn 1 and then use Retreat Return to get Irelia onto the board on turn 2. Like, to me, that seems more impressive than the benefits of recalling an ally and then getting the Flawless Duet. However, there is a counterpoint to this, and the counterpoint is that you can't use Return on almost any of the Blade Dancer characters because they all have play effects rather than summon effects. So if you were to cheat them into play using Return, you're not actually going to be able to use Blade Dances with them. So I think this can be roughly comparable to a Retreat Return, at least from my perspective, but I really don't see it being incredibly broken. I think it's good, but not like insane. Okay, next up is Vanguard's Edge. 7 mana, Blade Dance 3, pick an ally to attack with the blades. Now I touched on this a little earlier. I said that the value of a Blade Dance is mostly in the attack of the Blade Dance, at least from my perspective. The number of tokens you summon, summoning a bunch of 1/1s to attack with, you're gonna need other synergy points to make that good, such as Voice of the Risen, or Marshall, or Azir, or something like that that really bumps them up. Otherwise, it's gonna be pretty weak on its own. So from that perspective, I'm kind of just like, not great. However, unlike the other Blade Dance effects, it is able to make an ally attack with the blades. And to me, that's where it starts becoming more interesting. That's when you can start cheating things in with like an extra elusive. In the video, they show you with Green Glade Duo, which is probably one of the most ideal targets for this type of card. The question really just becomes, is it going to be that much better than, say, just running a typical rally effect, or just running something else that can be better suited for the type of deck? And you know what? At least it's in Ionia, so like, this is essentially the closest thing we're probably going to get to an official rally in Ionia. So like, I think that has its own value there too. It's hard to say, quite honestly. I will say though, I think it's much better as Irelia's champion spell specifically because she's a lot better with that type of effect. But on its own, I'm not sure I'd ever run it. All right, and finally, here we are, Irelia, the 3-mana 3/2 quick attack. When I'm summoned or round start, if you have the attack token, create a Flawless Duet in hand. Flawless Duet, of course, was the 1-mana summon to blades attacking with the Blade Dance 2. Obviously, her champion spell is Vanguard's Edge, which I just covered, and then her level up is I have seen 12 allies attack. So now I've seen 12 allies total have attacked, which is very similar to the Chimera that we saw in Shurima, which is actually quite interesting. Now, also, when she levels up, she then also has the same ability as before, but also when allies attack, she creates a Blade Surge in hand, which allows her to swap with any ally, and therefore allows you to sort of get Irelia in with these free attacks with your Blade Dances every single time. Now, the question really becomes here, how good is this and how useful is this going to be overall? There's a couple things to really consider here when you're analyzing this type of card. Well, first of all, when you see her second half, when allies attack, create a Blade Surge in hand, Blade Surge is only realistically going to be relevant if you can make your blades be threatening. Because remember, the opponent, when you attack a Blade Dance, at least if I understand priority properly, when you start a Blade Dance, the blades go out and attack. The opponent can choose not to block, and you won't be given a chance for you to Blade Surge in. At least that's from my perspective of understanding of how priority works, which means that you would have to block them. So for example, if I'm going to Blade Dance 2, and then my 2 blades go out to attack him for 2 damage, the opponent's going to be like, well, I'm just not going to block because I know you're going to swap in Irelia, and then you're not really getting value out of the Blade Surge. That being said, you are still constantly being able to essentially protect her. Every Blade Dance you play on the opponent's turn will give you the ability to get a free swap, which will essentially make it very difficult to pin her down. And then on your turn, any open attack you start will also give you basically the same sort of value, where you're basically going to be very hard to kill with Irelia on the board, because that's a 0-mana counter a spell, very heavy quotation marks, and then that plus Syncopation, which is also being run in your deck, probably it's going to be very difficult for the opponent to really stop you. Overall, I think the deck is pretty nuts. I'm a little concerned as to why they why did they print this when Zed existed? Like, to me, both cards they have their own decks. Let me first of all state that right off the bat. The fact that the blades are not ephemeral means that Zed does have his niche here, and Irelia is pretty tied to the blade dance mechanic. It's just very odd to me that they decided to print 2 cards that are like literally the same stat line and keyword, and then also fit the same sort of aggro Ionia deck. I do kind of feel like Irelia should have been 2 or 4 mana at least, so then you can have a bit more options here, because it does feel incredibly awkward to be running 2/3 cost 3/2 quick attack champions in Ionia. But overall, though, I think Irelia does have at least a chance to make Ionia good. The thing is, Lee Sin right now currently is basically holding up the entirety of the combo archetype on Ionia. Basically, if you want to be running combo in this game, it's either that or the Watcher, if I'm being quite honest, for competitive combo decks anyways. And so to me, it's just like, we needed some other tools for Ionia. Karma is very much supposed to be the control type of Ionia, and our aggro type of Ionia unfortunately had been nerfed so many times because of how elusives got gutted that like they were like, okay, well, you have Zed, but Zed's only, I guess, deck is standalone, like with Fiora. So like the fact that we now have a card that has a full archetype where all the cards are at least decent, I think that is a huge benefit for Ionia overall, and hopefully that's what it'll take to let Ionia at least have a tempo deck again, because quite frankly, so many of their tools are built around being essentially tempo cards, and it never really feels like tempo or aggro are actually rewarded properly for playing in Ionia, and that always feels kind of sad. It feels like your only option for being aggressive in Ionia is like encroaching shadows elusives, which is a little silly. Like, that really shouldn't be the case. So I think I am very happy for Irelia. I think this is actually probably the deck I'm going to start with. I really do love recall synergies, and I do really love sequencing at your attacks better. I famously was playing like Scout for basically 2 entire expansions when it first came out because how much I love that deck. But this one is something I'll have to try out and sort of see just how good it is. There's a lot of different options here that I'm seeing, such as Zanaya, who I'm like, you know what? This might actually be good enough. So I'll be sure to give it you guys a try, and then I'll be sure to post my results for you guys as well. But that is it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming in. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to do reveals for the other cards. I'll probably have another video going up over about the patch notes when they come out, and hopefully there's some changes to some of the cards currently going in. I know it's not scheduled to be a patch for balance, but I'm hoping it will be anyways. But hopefully we'll see some more information soon. Otherwise, though, I've been The Skilled Roy. I will catch you guys later. Peace out.